She entered Israel draped in royal silks but drenched in schemes darker than the deepest shadows. This is Jezebel, a queen not born of Israel, but one who would redefine its very essence of power and terror. The moment Jezebel set foot in Israel, the air thickened with the smoke of her incense and the whispers of her plotting. With each step, she spun a web of control, weaving Phoenician deities into the fabric of Israelite society. Her gods demanded blood, and Jezebel obliged. Prophets of Yahweh fell one by one, silenced by the blade as altars to Baal rose from the earth. This queen was no mere royal, she was a puppeteer. Her court became a stage for dark arts and darker politics. Jezebel's name whispered at every corner, synonymous with dread and absolute power. Her manipulation knew no bounds. The high priests were her chess pieces, the people of Israel, her pawns. The tale of Naboth's vineyard is where her dark arts turned deadly in the public eye. A plot so vile it saw an innocent man executed on her orders, just so her husband could claim a piece of land. Naboth's blood was a stark testament to Jezebel's cruelty. Through deception and murder, she secured her desires, leaving a trail of horror that would echo through the ages. But how long can darkness reign before the light strikes back? What happens when a prophet challenges a queen? Stay tuned as we dive into the epic showdown with Elijah, where fire falls from the sky. As Jezebel's grip tightens, so does the tension in Israel. The land is split between those who fear her and those who despise her tyranny. But from the shadows emerges Elijah, a prophet who dares to challenge her reign of terror. Elijah, armed with nothing but his faith, issues a challenge to the prophets of Baal, 450 of Jezebel's most loyal servants. It's a contest of divine power on the summit of Mount Carmel, a battle to prove whose God truly rules in Israel. The air is thick with anticipation as both sides gather. Elijah stands alone, facing Jezebel's army of prophets. The challenge? To call down fire from heaven to ignite a sacrificial altar. First Baal, then Yahweh. Hours pass, and Baal remains silent amidst the desperate cries of his prophets. But when Elijah prays, fire descends from the sky, consuming his offering and leaving no doubt of Yahweh's power. The victory is more than spiritual. It's a public spectacle that shatters Jezebel's facade of invincibility. In a swift, decisive move, Elijah orders the slaughter of Baal's prophets, a direct hit to Jezebel's influence. But Jezebel is not one to cower or retreat. Enraged and vengeful, she vows to kill Elijah, forcing the prophet to flee into the wilderness. This act of defiance marks a turning point, setting the stage for her own downfall. What happens when a queen, fueled by vengeance and stripped of her power, faces the inevitable fall? Join us next time as we explore the final chapter of Jezebel's dark saga, where destiny meets its gruesome end. Jezebel's power wanes as Israel recoils from the spectacle on Mount Carmel. The once untouchable queen finds herself increasingly isolated as her political alliances crumble and the public's fear turns to scorn. Her husband, King Ahab, meets his own demise, leaving Jezebel vulnerable to her enemies. Among them rises Jehu, a commander of the Israelite army, burning with ambition and anointed by prophets to purge the royal family. Fueled by divine proclamation and political ambition, Jehu mounts a fierce coup. His chariot races towards Jezreel, intent on ending Jezebel's rule. As he approaches, Jezebel, ever defiant, adorns herself in regal attire and applies her makeup, staring down from her palace window. It's a final act of royal defiance. Jezebel confronts Jehu from her window. No fear, only the pride of a queen, even in her last moments. The confrontation is brief but chilling. Jehu orders her eunuchs to throw her from the window. They comply, and Jezebel's fall is as dramatic as her reign. Her blood splatters against the wall and her body is trampled under Jehu's horses. As prophesied, her body is left for the dogs, ensuring that Jezebel's end is as ignominious as her life was infamous. The queen who ruled with an iron fist and a dark heart is gone, but her story remains, a chilling reminder of where unchecked ambition can lead. In the tumultuous era of the Judges, where ancient Israel grappled with both internal decay and external threats, a hero emerged with the strength of many men. His name was Samson, and his destiny would be forever altered by Delilah, a woman as cunning as she was captivating. But who was Delilah? Was she merely a femme fatale, or something more complex? Our story begins in the valley of Sorek, where Delilah's charm ensnares the heart of Israel's mightiest judge. Delilah lived at the fringes of Philistine society, adept at navigating the treacherous waters between various loyalties. When the Philistine rulers discovered her liaison with Samson, they saw an opportunity too good to pass up. Offered silver to betray her lover, Delilah faces a choice that would define her legacy. The Philistines promise wealth beyond imagining for the secret to Samson's strength, a secret that could topple an empire. Delilah's tactics are a masterclass in manipulation. She probes Samson for his secret, each attempt wrapped in a veneer of affection, each failure making her more determined. Her persistence is as relentless as it is ruthless. Samson, blinded by love, or perhaps arrogance, toys with Delilah, offering false answers. But Delilah's determination does not waver. She knows that everyone has a breaking point. As Delilah's attempts to uncover the secret of Samson's strength intensified, so did the stakes. Under the heavy drapes of night, amidst whispers and shadows, Delilah's persistence reaches its climax. The Philistine silver glimmers in her mind, a reward for the ultimate betrayal. But first, she must breach the walls around Samson's heart. This time, her approach is different. It's laden with emotional manipulation. "How can you say you love me when you won't confide in me?" she challenges, her words as sharp as daggers, her touch as soft as silk. Trust, once unshaken, begins to crumble under the weight of relentless doubt and orchestrated fear. Delilah's words eat away at Samson, her feigned vulnerability a mask for her cold calculation. In a moment of profound weakness, or perhaps misguided trust, Samson reveals his secret. His strength will leave him if his hair, the source of his Nazirite vow to God, is cut. Delilah knows immediately. The game is won. With the secret in her grasp, Delilah acts swiftly. As Samson sleeps, trusting and vulnerable, she summons the Philistine lords. They bring a man with the blades to cut away, not just his hair, but his divine protection. The shears slice through the locks, each cut a severing of Samson's link to his strength. He awakens, powerless, realizing too late the depth of Delilah's betrayal. With his strength gone, snipped away with his hair as he slept, the once mighty Samson was left vulnerable and powerless. Captured and blinded by his enemies, Samson is chained and brought to Gaza. The Philistines, reveling in their victory, parade him in their temple, a trophy of their triumph over Israel's fiercest judge. But this story isn't just about fall from grace, it's about the flickering embers of redemption that glow even in the darkest of ashes. As Samson is humiliated, his hair begins to regrow, unnoticed by his captors, a silent testament to a covenant not fully broken. But what of Delilah? The scriptures leave her fate to the imagination. Did she live out her days in wealth from her betrayal, or did she fall into obscurity, haunted by her deeds? Delilah's story serves as a potent reminder of the complex interplay between power, greed, and conscience. Delilah remains a figure shrouded in mystery and moral ambiguity. Was she merely a survivor in a ruthless world, or the embodiment of betrayal? Her legacy, much like her motives, is debated through the ages. Back in the temple, as the Philistines celebrate, Samson's final act unfolds. Placed between two pillars, he calls upon God for strength one last time to let him die with his oppressors. With a mighty heave, Samson brings down the temple, crushing himself and his foes alike. It's a dramatic end to a life marked by both divine calling and human frailty. Herodias was born into a family of power and prestige, a niece to King Herod the Great. Her early marriage to Herod Philip II, though initially a union of political convenience, set the stage for her ambitious climb in the treacherous hierarchy of Judean royalty. But Herodias was not one to remain satisfied with the status quo. Her desires were far greater than what her first marriage could offer. It wasn't long before her eyes set on a more influential prize, Herod Antipas, the ruler of Galilee. Herodias's decision to leave Herod Philip for his brother, Herod Antipas, was more than a personal scandal. It was a strategic move that catapulted her back into the center of power. This bold step not only secured her position but also marked her as a woman who could manipulate her circumstances to her favor. The union was met with both intrigue and outrage. John the Baptist, a prominent prophet, openly criticized their marriage, deeming it unlawful and immoral. But Herodias, ever the schemer, would not tolerate such dissent. Herodias's resentment towards John the Baptist grew with each public denunciation. His words were not just a personal attack, they threatened her position and her future. In the royal court, where words could be as deadly as swords, Herodias began plotting her revenge. Her opportunity would come during a lavish birthday feast for Herod Antipas. It was the perfect setting for her dark plans to unfold. The setting is the opulent palace of Herod Antipas, adorned for a celebration that would host the elite of Judean society. Wine flows, music fills the air, and the atmosphere is charged with anticipation and revelry. Herodias knows the power of timing and spectacle. She waits, a silent architect of the coming storm, as her husband, Herod Antipas, revels in his birthday festivities, unaware of the dramatic turn the night will take. Enter Salome, Herodias's daughter, whose dance before Herod and his guests would become legendary. Choreographed to captivate and enchant, her performance is the key to unlocking Herodias's plot. Herod, overwhelmed by Salome's grace and beauty, impulsively promises her anything she desires, up to half of his kingdom, a vow made in the heat of the moment, a ruler's boast before his court. Consulting her mother, Salome becomes the unwitting pawn in Herodias's deadly game. With cold precision, Herodias instructs her to ask for the head of John the Baptist on a platter. It's a shocking request that silences the room, turning merriment into horror. Herod is trapped by his own promise, his oath witnessed by many. Despite his reluctance and distress, he orders the execution to uphold his word and save face before his guests. With John the Baptist's execution, Herodias cements her legacy as a woman who would stop at nothing to protect her power. But what are the consequences of such ruthless actions? In our final episode, we explore the aftermath of this fateful decision and the lasting impact of Herodias's choices. The execution of John the Baptist sends shockwaves through Judean society and beyond. Herod Antipas, haunted by his decision, fears that John has been resurrected in the form of Jesus, whose fame is now spreading. Herodias, however, remains steadfast, believing her actions have secured her position, but the killing of such a revered prophet only deepens the public's disdain for Herodias, painting her as a manipulative and malevolent figure in the eyes of her people and solidifying her infamy in historical texts. The story doesn't end with the feast. The political ramifications of John's death and the unstable leadership of Herod lead to a decline in their power. Eventually, Herod and Herodias are exiled by the Romans, a fall from grace that sees them sent away to Gaul, where they spend their last days in obscurity.